All right, let's talk about something that trips up so many of us when it comes to zakat. You've got some gold, maybe a little silver, and you've got cash in the bank. So what do? Do you add them all up? Keep them separate? It can feel pretty confusing, but stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll have a crystal clear answer. Okay, let's dive in.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to start with the exact question that so many people have. Then we'll hit rewind a bit to understand the history of how we value things. After that, we'll see where modern money fits into the picture, lay out the absolute must-know rules for combining it all, and finally, we'll walk through the calculations step by step.
All right, first things first. Let's really zero in on the exact problem we're here to solve today.
This right here, this is the heart of it all. You know, maybe you have some jewelry, but it's not enough to meet that zakat threshold on its own. But then you also have some savings in your account. So are those two totally separate things, or does one actually affect the other? That's the question we are going to nail down.
Now, to really get the right answer, we actually have to take a step back. We need to look at the history, because how wealth was measured way back then has a direct impact on the rules we use right now.
Okay, quick pause. Before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page with one super important word, nisab. All it means is the minimum amount, the threshold of wealth, that you need to have for a whole year before zakat is required from you. If you're below it, no zakat. If you're at it or above it, you pay. Simple as that.
So you've got this minimum threshold, the nisab. But a threshold of what exactly? What's so interesting is that back in the day, gold and silver weren't just shiny things. They were money. They were the measuring stick for everything else.
Think about it like this. It really shows the shift. You wouldn't have priced a herd of camels in dollars back then. You'd price it in a certain weight of gold. Today, cash is just the standard we all use to figure out what stuff is worth.
And that brings us right to the main challenge here. You know, cash as we think of it, paper bills, numbers in a bank account. It just didn't exist at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So the big question is, how do we take these timeless rules and apply them to our modern world?
So the scholars had this huge question on their hands. When it comes to our cash, should we measure it against the really high threshold for gold or the much, much lower threshold for silver? And believe me, the answer to this changes everything.
And wow, the difference is just huge. I mean, on any given day, the gold nisab could be 10 times higher than the silver one. So the choice here literally determines when zakat becomes due on cash for millions and millions of people.
And here's the beautiful logic behind their decision. The consensus view is to use the silver standard for our cash. And why? Well, it's all about maximizing the benefit for people in need. By using that lower threshold, more people's wealth qualifies for zakat, and that means more help gets to the poor. It's a profound principle.
Okay, you've got the backstory. Now for the main event. We've reached the absolute core of this whole thing, the specific practical rules for what you combine and what you keep separate.
Rule number 1, and this is the foundation for everything. On their own, you have to think of gold and silver as being in two completely different lanes. They don't just automatically team up to meet the threshold. So let's be super clear here. If you have some gold, but it's less than 85 grams, and you also have some silver, but it's less than 595 grams, you do not add them together. In that very specific case, you don't owe zakat on either of them. But, and you have to get this part because this is the piece that changes everything, the bit that so many of us miss. There is a huge exception.
This is the real game changer. Cash, or any merchandise, stuff you bought with the goal of selling it for a profit, they act like a magnet. The minute you have those in the picture, it forces you to pull in the value of all your gold and all your silver, even if they're below their own thresholds.
Look, this table makes it super simple. Gold and silver by themselves, both below the line, nope, don't combine them. But the second you add cash to the mix, yes, you absolutely have to combine the value of that cash with the value of your gold and your silver. Okay, let's put all these pieces together and see what this looks like in the real world. Time to actually run the numbers. Here's the simple 4-step playbook. Let's do a quick example. Say you have gold that's worth about $2,000 and you have $3,000 in savings. Step 1, your gold's value is $2,000. Step 2, add it to your cash. That's $5,000 total. Step 3, compare that $5,000 to the silver nisab, which is around $500. Step 4, since your $5,000 is way over that $500 line, zakat is due. And that magic number? It's always 2.5%. That's the percentage you pay on that total combined wealth that you just figured out.
Which brings us right back to where we started. So, to finally, once and for all, answer that big question from the beginning, yes, even if your gold is below its own threshold, you absolutely combine its value with your cash. Then you pay 2.5% on that entire total, as long as it's over the silver threshold.
And this kind of leaves us with a question for the future, doesn't it? We've seen these principles adapt from a world of gold coins to a world of digital bank accounts. So as wealth keeps changing into things like cryptocurrencies, how will these amazing core principles of charity and value adapt? Definitely something to think about.